What's up guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name's Jake. Welcome to the JD Cars Automotive YouTube channel. Please be sure to go check us out at jd-cars.com. Follow us on Instagram at jd.cars, and please be sure to subscribe for more content. So today I finally, after a couple months of owning this bike, finally got my title in the mail, and I got my RMV appointment, which was booked out weeks, as you guys probably know. But finally got my plate on this bike, and I don't know if you guys have seen my previous episode yet, but I did film an episode on this really low profile license plate bracket, and it's got 3 bright white LEDs in this little housing that shine down onto the plate. But it's a really clean, tucked up design. I like the way it looks. You can hardly see it. It's aluminum, powder coated, and it actually has receptacles for our turn signals on the side here. And if you guys recognize that, that's the stock turn signal shape. So theoretically it would pop right in. However, I don't really like the stock turn signals. I'm not sure if you do, but I'm not a fan of the dim halogen turn signals. They just don't flash very quickly or brightly, and I'm looking to improve the safety of the bike as well as the look and longevity of the lights. So we are going to be installing LEDs, 2 turn signals on the back, 2 on the front, actually 4 on the front, because we just did these Zeta handguards, which actually have holes for an optional LED turn signal. So we're going to be doing 2 on the bars, 2 on the headlight, and in the rear we also have a brake light strip that's going to go right here along with integrated turn signals, I believe. Now something really cool is the turn signals that are going to be mounted to that bracket and the turn signals mounted to the headlight, they actually have running lights. So the front ones, they're gonna be a white running light, and the rear ones are gonna be an amber running light. So it's definitely gonna be a lot of wiring, but I think with our stock connectors, we should be able to make it pretty neat. But without any further ado, let's pull this puppy in the garage, put it up on the stand, and pull off these plastics. A little wet and dirty under here, but miraculously my labeled connections have held up for the most part. There's my brake light, there is my left rear turn signal, here's my license plate light, which as you can see I've already wired up into the new light, and here's my right rear turn signal. So we have 3 connections here to make, the 2 turn signals and the brake light. Now I did have somewhat of a little panic here because the rear turn signals, as you can see, they're a 2-wire setup. Now the front turn signals, they're different. They're a 3-wire setup because the front turn signals, the stock ones, they act as running lights. So they have 3 wires, 2 constant, 1 constant ground, 1 constant power, and then an alternating power for the turn signal. Now that's not the case in the rear. The rear is just a turn signal. That's alright because we can basically just steal power from the brake light line to supply the running lights for the rear turn signals. Or more likely, I'll probably hook up the signal trigger wire from the brake light to the turn signal lights. So I'll ground them with this, and I'll use the turn signal positive wire, but I'm gonna take this signal wire from the brake light to power the red light on the turn signals. I know it's probably confusing what I'm saying right now, but it'll make sense later. Definitely hold on to your plastics before doing this because you're gonna wanna steal the connectors from your rear brake light right here, the 3-pin rear brake light, and you're also gonna want the rear turn signal connectors. They're all color coded as well, which makes reinstallation really easy. So I've already stolen the license plate connector that's on the bike right now, but the rest of them here, 5 remaining connectors, we're gonna snip off, and we'll solder those connections onto our new turn signals, and we'll also be sure to cover them with heat shrink to make sure we don't have any problems with moisture. So basically all I'm doing right now is I'm taking the old stock turn signals, I'm going to snip off this connector, put it on the new turn signals, and I'll check in with you guys when I'm done with that. Alright, so a lot of wiring later. I have this all soldered up. I have my heat shrink pieces slid off of the soldered areas, and I haven't heat shrunk anything yet just so I can show you this, but I have our main brake line coming down here. We have our ground, our tail light, which is blue, signal wire, which is yellow, and into the signal wire I have the 2 red wires, one from each turn signal, And then the other 2 wires I have to the corresponding signal. So the yellow signal wire from the left signal I have going to the left connector, which is gray. The right one is black. I have the same thing going on with this one. Just realized oh no. I messed up, guys. I need to, oh man. I gotta have my, not only the nut, but the 2 washers I need on here. They gotta be on the turn signal before I wire it in. Glad I caught that now before the heat shrink. But I got that wired in, and then last but not least, we have this LED strip, which is a brake light. Well, it's a tail light, a brake light, and it does our turn signals. So that's a 5-wire setup. The black wire is ground, green is the left signal, yellow is the right signal, red is the brake light, and white is the tail light. So just wanted to give you guys that rundown before I button this all up. Alright, so I unsoldered and resoldered this. Got my washers and nuts on there, and I have these all heat shrunk except for one that failed. I'll just tape that. But before we install this or tape anything up, let's connect our connectors to the bike here and make sure that we get all the appropriate functions out of our lights. Alright, so turning on the ignition, everything appears to be working as it should. Don't mind the fuel injectors going there, but brake light. Now something really cool, these guys flash and then they hold solid for the brake light. So ready, watch this. Sick. So that works. And our turn signals work too, but you can see it's flashing a little too quickly, and that's because the original setup is intended for halogen bulbs, not LED. The LED reacts much more quickly with lower voltage. So we have this relay here, which should correct our flashing rate, and the stock relay is located right here. Just pull that out, and if we pull it down, oh, there we go. All right, that gives us a little bit better room to work. Pull back this rubber sheath right here. Looks like mine just auto ejected, but you press down on this little black tab and this whole thing pops out. Now, as you can see, that's kind of difficult to remove, which is why the new one comes with a nice little lead on it, so it makes installing and locating it a lot easier. But this will plug in right here, and before I tuck that away, let's make sure it did its job. Fingers crossed. Sweet. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And yeah, I forgot to tell you guys, but these are sequential turn signals, which is super sick. And all of this is built in. It's like, that's obviously not a feature of the bike. It's built into this little turn signal, which is pretty sick. So yeah, with the installation of that little relay, we're good to go. So I'm gonna unplug our huge mess of wires here, and we're gonna mount everything up and then route our wires in, and then we'll quickly do our forward turn signals as well. So I don't know about you, but I prefer wiring or soldering over at my workbench, not up under a location like this, which is what I would have had to do if I didn't slice this little hole in my bracket on either side. So here's the idea with this. We have a fender washer and another washer, and our nut pass that right through that slit. I now see in hindsight I could have made a smaller slit, but whatever. And I think I'm gonna want it in the front, maybe in the back. I guess the back makes a little more sense, but the front I feel like I'm gonna get more surface area. So I'm gonna do the front. Tighten down my nut here with our 2 washers, kind of sandwiching everything in between. Yeah, look at that. So I do need to grab my wrench, but that's surprisingly solid for what the setup is. Do the same thing over on the other side. I'm probably gonna want to fish my wires through this bracket so that they're not vulnerable to any debris, but you guys get the idea with the signals here. And then the tail light is actually just adhesive, so I'm probably gonna stick that up here or down at the bottom. Haven't really decided, but I'm gonna get this all installed, get all the wiring tucked away, get my plastics reinstalled, get it all ready to go, and I'll show you guys the completed wiring setup when I'm done. But you gotta remember to do our front signals. I almost forgot about those. Before I toss the plastic and seat back on, I just want to show you my setup here. So we have our 2 blinkers, mounted up. We have our taillight. I decided to go up here. It didn't really make a lot of sense to go on the bottom edge of the plate. So we have it up here, adhesive. The adhesive was surprisingly strong. And then I also have two little zip ties on either end. I have an extra one on this end just to hold that wire and redirect it. And then I have my 3 wires going up into this hole where the stock wiring pops through. Pardon all the dirt. And it goes through the stock wire loom organizer down here through the stock organizer, and then I have like 2 zip ties down here. I didn't go crazy with zip ties because this plastic piece, it's just that one screw and it goes on, so it's easy enough to just kind of hide this wiring with the plastics. All right, so now for our front turn signals here, as well as white LED running lights. We have 3 wires again. So like before, we have a black and a yellow, but now we have a white wire for the white LEDs. And I've taken off the securing nut here, and I've gone through my drill bit set. And I think a 23/64 will do the best job of achieving that width. We aren't going to have to cut a slit this time around where I plan to mount them up right here. We aren't gonna have to drill a slit because we take a look at our old turn signals here. The front turn signals, like the rears, they just have this tiny little connector here. So we can just feed that right through the 23/64 hole that we drill. Won't have to drill any slits, so this should be a lot easier than the rear. Got my drill with a smaller bit. I'm gonna drill a pilot hole to make sure I center it, but I'm gonna drill one hole like right here and one on the same spot on the other side. Alright, so maybe 10-15 minutes later of soldering, we have both of our original connectors on the new turn signals. Black one is the right, gray one is the left. So all we really have to do here is set aside our black one, feed our wire through the hole that we drilled. Fits through like a glove, and as you guys saw earlier, the turn signal fits like a glove as well. We actually have to thread it in, which I'm not opposed to. It's just gonna make this a much more sturdy and tight fit, which is what we're looking for. So thread that in all the way. We'll grab the included serrated flange nut, slip it on over the connector, just barely fits on there. We'll slide that down. It does help if you twist and pull at the same time. Gradual process. Oh, there we go. All right, so we get that down, thread it onto our turn signal. Don't have to tighten it just yet, but we can make our connection here. Now we'll do the same thing on the other side. Flip this around. So at this point, we're completely done with our wiring and installation. All we have to do is button this up. So I'm gonna take care of all this excess wire, zip tie it down, put our headlight assembly back on, get these turn signals leveled, and I'll tighten them down with a 14mm, and we'll see what it looks like. Whoa, oh, hold on. Almost forgot. Do want to wire in the Zeta cross-country handguard LEDs, so we're gonna do that really quick. All right, so I have my Zeta handguard signals wired in. I have verified that they're working. Now, how you install them is you take the lens, which is separate, and we push it through the face of the handguard right here. It's a pretty tight fit. And then your light assembly kind of sandwiches on the back. Well, the handguard is sandwiched between the lens and the light assembly on the back. And they give you these little screws that we screw in from the back side here into the lens, which secures it. Alright, so as you can see here, I have everything buttoned up and zip tied into place. Gave myself a little bit of slack to move the headlight when I need to, but I'm gonna reinstall the headlight assembly and the 2 8mm screws on either side, and we'll be in business. Alright guys, she's all done, so I'm gonna close the garage doors real quick so we can get kind of a dim lighting effect. Dude, I love the look of these white LEDs up front. They're just bright enough that you can see them, they're noticeable, They make the bike more noticeable and more apparent, but they're not blinding by any means. And then we'll take a look at our turn signals here. Right-hand turn signal. As you can see, we have the sequential turn signal up here. And then just as a redundancy, we also have the Zeta handguard signal, just to add more visibility. Same deal over on the left-hand side, sequential turn signal and the Zeta handguard turn signal going off. Looks really good. And as you can see, when you're signaling on one side, the other side stays illuminated white. Super happy with how it's looking. I'll give you a look how it looks with the headlight when the bike's running. So definitely want to swap this over to an LED at some point, but for now, you know, I think it's good. Thing looks sick. Let's switch over and take a look at the rear end. All right, so checking out the rear end here, as you can see, we have this taillight going across the top of the license plate. And when we brake, not only does the taillight increase brightness, but these flash and illuminate. So that's gonna add a lot of safety when we're braking. Obviously, a motorcycle can brake a lot more quickly than a vehicle, like a car or a truck. So when a motorcycle is braking in front of another vehicle, it's really important you have good brake lights to catch their attention and let them know that you're slowing down so you don't get rear-ended. So this should do a really good job. And then in terms of turn signals, we have our left-hand turn signal. Again, we have a sequential turn signal, which is really cool. And we also have, I don't know, the last 10 LEDs on this LED strip illuminating, which is a little bit of a bonus. Right-hand signal works just the same. And when you brake while signaling, it's a little iffy. Sometimes both of them will flash for the brakes, but I've noticed most of the time it'll just be the non-signaling turn signal that lights up and flashes. Let's check it out here. Oh, no, both of them did it that time. Yeah, so it looks like both of them will flash and then it will resume signaling. But yeah, I'm really stoked with the look of this rear end, and I really like this license plate bracket and 3 white LEDs shining on the plate. If you're gonna have the plate there, you might as well light it up and make it look good. So the rear end is looking super clean. I wish this LED strip was, you know, an inch shorter because it overhangs the ends just a little bit, but I can live with it. Well guys, that's gonna wrap up this video on my custom blinker and brake light LED conversion on my WR250R. I hope you guys enjoyed this DIY installation video. I really enjoyed the project. It was a fun time, made a huge improvement. I love the way the bike is looking now, especially these turn signals. For the money, I think they're like 20 bucks, 20, 30 bucks for the set of 4 signals with built-in programming. So that was huge. The little LED strip, 10 bucks. And then that little relay module, 10 bucks or something. So this is a really inexpensive yet highly impactful project on the bike. I'm glad I did it. I'm gonna move on to installing an LED headlight. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please go leave a like down below, comment future video suggestions. Please subscribe for more bike content, and I'll see you guys next time on JD Cars.